It's showtime.
Hello and welcome to Musical Lyrical Lingo, episode 8. We're your hosts Tim
and LJ. Today and every week we will be talking musicals and specifically what they taught us.
Yeah, so normal service resumes today. Yeah. Do you know what this week's musical is?
I would like to think so.
I know. Just checking. Go on, tell us.
It's Annie.
It's Annie. I could just see you as a wee curly-haired Annie.
I don't have the coloured hair like you.
African sunset. Did you all get the clue, guys? Did you all get it? It was subtle, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. You were good?
Well, I tried not to be so obvious. Yeah, so today is Annie. What are your thoughts on Annie, Lauren? I'm glad you are blowing a raspberry. I kind of blow a raspberry when it comes to Annie as well, but I kind of feel when we're doing a podcast on musicals, it's a bit daft to not do one episode on a musical like Annie. Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? It still brings in audiences. You're still going to find it in the Amdram world. You're going to find it in the school production world.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't... There's how many films have been made of it? I mean, it's still out there and it's not going to go away.
Oh, I think it's probably one of those shows that will never go away. Mm-hmm. Like, I think... And I still think it's probably young children... A lot of young people's first ventures into musical theatre is through shows like Annie's or Oliver's or Joseph's. So, I mean, it has its place. I think just when you get old and decrepit like us and you've seen and you've heard it multiple times, it has the raspberry effect on us. But listen, do you want to know a little bit about it before...
Please.
God, we're starting on a bit of a downer, aren't we? Listen, I have mixed feelings about it, to be honest with you. I do. I think the world wouldn't be the same without Annie. But, okay. So, Annie, this introduction is hilarious after what we've just said. Annie is a heartwarming tale that we blow raspberries at. Set in the era of the Great Depression, the audience can't help but want to cheer on cheeky little orphan Annie as she makes her way from rags to riches. Music is by Charles Strauss, lyrics by Martin Charnin, and book is by Thomas Mahan, based on the 1924 comic strip Little Orphan Annie by Harold Gray. The Broadway production opened in 1977 and ran for nearly 6 years.
Like, that's long.
Yeah, for a reason, I suppose. Like, the first time any of us saw Annie, we probably really enjoyed it. Well, maybe not. Maybe you didn't. I did. I think I've just got... It's grown a bit tired with me just because I've seen it or have been involved in it and done it far too many... so many times.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as a musical, it's still brilliant. Mm-hmm. The Tonys thought so too. It won 7 Tony Awards, including Best Musical.
7 Tonys?
I know. Yeah, it won 7 Tonys. Or was it nominated for 7 Tonys? No, I think it won 7 Tonys.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And then, of course, it was made into the 1982 film, which is on TV every Christmas, let's be honest.
And it's probably where most people know it, just know the film, rather than have ever seen a live production of it.
Yeah, exactly. If you haven't seen it in the theatre, you're bound to have watched the film at some point. Yeah. I've got some really interesting facts about the film for later, that will blow your mind.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so anybody who doesn't know the classic tale, it's the tale of Annie, an 11-year-old, red-headed, curly-haired orphan who dreams of one day her parents coming back to rescue her from the evil Miss Hannigan and her orphanage. Unlike the other orphans, she was dropped off with a note explaining that her parents would be back to claim her as soon as they were able. Deciding to act, Annie made several attempts to try and run away, until one day, Miss Farrell, the personal secretary to not the millionaire Oliver Warbucks, but the billionaire Oliver Warbucks.
And back then, that was a lot of money.
A lot of money. Cha-ching. She arrives at the orphanage one day to say that Warbucks has decided to invite an orphan home as a bit of a publicity stunt. But very soon, Grace Farrell and Oliver Warbucks fall in love with little Annie.
And how could you not?
How could you not? I actually think she's a bit of a pain in the backside.
Oh,
Annie.
she's a brat.
Yes, there we go. It's out.
Oh.
If you ever have a child who turns out to be like Annie, good luck.
Yeah, and just whenever you said like an 11-year-old, like I have an 11-year-old, but whenever you think of Annie, I think of her as a bit older, or maybe it's just that attitude.
Yeah, but she has to have attitude. She has to be rough around the edges. She's an orphan. Let's be honest, she's fighting for herself.
Oh,
she doesn't have anybody in her corner, does she? Until Oliver Warbucks and his $1 billion arrives on the scene.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's Annie. So, do you have many musical lyrical lingos?
I actually do, yeah.
Okay.
Again, introduced to musical young.
Yeah.
It's not an excuse, but it just, I remember asking whenever Miss Hannigan shouts before it's Hard Knock Life, said, I wanted to shine like the top of the Chrysler building.
Love that line.
And didn't know what the Chrysler building was, and actually asked my dad, and he explained that it was a building in New York, and at the time that would have been set, would have been one of the
tallest,
tallest building in New York.
Tallest and shiniest.
Yeah, with all it's like a merge effect, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it is an impressive looking, even now, as much as there's loads of lovely high-rise skyscrapery things, the Chrysler building still is quite special, isn't it?
Then A Tough Row, which
What's
is
that
in
from?
A Hard Knock Life.
Okay.
We talk about being a tough row. It's about hoeing rows on a farm.
Oh, okay.
And also, if you have like a tough row, it means that it's going to be a daunting task to perform. So their task of cleaning is a daunting task.
And that's in Hard Knock Life?
Yeah.
I don't think I've come across that lyric. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, well, it's definitely in the lyric.
No, I'm sure it is. I just... listen, it is one of those songs that it's really easy to make up your own words to, and we're quite good at doing that, Lauren, aren't we? Like making up our own lyrics. One of my musical lyrical lingos for Hard Knock Life is I always sang, no one's there when your dreams get wet and weepy.
Oh, that's definitely...
And it's definitely not that. It's no one's there when your dreams at night get creepy. So there you go. So I hear you when it comes to lyrics and getting them wrong.
Yeah.
So I believe very much that your musical lyrical lingo is in the song, because I think I've just made up most of the song. I also didn't think it was a hard knock life. I thought it's a hard enough life for us. Like, genuinely. The first time I came to that song, I think I sang my own words for about a couple of years until I had done it for the 17th time and went, oh, actually, this is the lyrics.
Probably whenever we were being introduced to it, there was like no Google, or there was no, like, you had like to have the proper script or the music.
And you also didn't get the lyrics printed out for you.
No.
You just had go and learn the lyrics.
Go stand beside, so-and-so and listen, and whatever they were singing, you were singing.
So, I mean, I just made up the lyrics. It's a hard enough life for us.
I love it.
No one's there when your dreams get wet and weepy. Like, what?
You're saying, like, that song talks about wet dreams.
What? Anyway, so yes.
Okay, that's
What
good.
else did you learn?
What else?
Let's move on quickly.
Make her drink a Mickey Finn.
Oh yeah, make her drink a Mickey Finn.
Yeah. Pull the whiskers from her tin.
Yeah.
So a Mickey Finn is a drugged alcoholic drink,
Oh.
which is given to somebody without their knowledge of knowing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
For 10 and 11-year-olds to be singing that's a bit awful.
Isn't it? But it's named after a 19th century bartender who was also a pickpocketer, and he drugged people.
Before pickpocketing them?
Yeah.
Oh.
And also the expression is sometimes known as slipping a Mickey. I know.
Okay. Oh, this episode's going downhill fast, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a bit scandalous that that's in a song that's sung by those orphans.
I know.
That they would make reference to those things.
I know. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
right, okay.
And then my last musical lyrical lingo is from the lovely song Never Fully Dressed.
Oh.
I do love that song.
Oh, listen, it has some classic songs in it that even now, when you hear them, you can't help but sing along or whistle along.
Yeah.
Like, you can't deny it.
So from Never Fully Dressed, Anna Beau Brumley is about a well-dressed man. So somebody would have got something in Savile Row.
And Savile Row's mentioned in the
Savile
same
Row's
song,
mentioned
isn't it?
about, a well-dressed man.
There you go.
Yeah, so I did learn a few things.
Apart from your drugging one, that one was quite cute at the end. Yeah, well, so apart from my misheard lyrics, what I learned was how ridiculously political Annie is as a show. Like, it was basically a political show about how dire and how it was set during the Great Depression, and basically it absolutely pulled Herbert Hoover apart, didn't it? Because he was the president at the time who was blamed for a lot of the Great Depression, and it's actually one of my favourite songs, the song that they do in Hooverville, which was like a shanty town that appeared during that time. The song's called "We'd Like to Thank You, Herbert Hoover," and they basically just berate Herbert Hoover and how terrible a job he did, like, during that time. And it's really political. Like, that song is really political. And then you've also got, the involvement of Roosevelt. Yeah. We first meet him in the show in the cabinet scene, when they're basically talking about the state of America and everything that's wrong. And then they talk about the New Deal, which is, what the economic recovery plan that Roosevelt decided to come up with, and called it the New Deal. And then there's that song that sometimes is taken out of some versions, but for it to make sense, it should be there. It's called A New Deal for Christmas, where it basically talks about not all the things that aren't there in like healthcare, but we're getting a new deal for Christmas. In other words, Roosevelt's New Deal. So I was
but those two songs that you mentioned aren't in the film.
That's right, but there's loads of songs that aren't in the film that were in the musical, or vice versa.
Yeah.
There's almost like two separate versions.
Yes.
For example, Dumb Dog, which I love
I sing
in the
Dumb
film.
Dog on a daily basis to my dog.
You can't be singing
no, but
that
not
to
in not in a bad way. Like, listen,
I know she barked in the last episode and all, but you can't be calling her a dumb dog.
Listen, I have a busy life. I run my own business. I work. I've got kids. I've got a husband who can't even cook his own soup. I mean, whenever you've then got the dog, and you're just constantly at you. So I do sometimes turn around and go, "Dumb dog, why are you following me?"
Yeah. Poor honey.
I know, but I don't mean it. I don't
know how she lives under these conditions.
I do.
Being treated you're like a Miss Hannigan to the dog.
I probably am. And to the kids.
And to the kids. This place will shine like the top of the Chrysler building. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, but that kind of, and it was only when, I suppose, as a kid, you don't really think about the political side of the storyline, and it's only when you're a wee bit older and you're working on it that you're like, oh, actually, this is really quite a political statement at many times throughout the show. So I learned that in Easy Street, it also kind of makes reference to the the Great Depression, when they say, it ain't fair, this here life is driving me nuts, well, we get peanuts, she's living fat. It's just another reference to
tough times.
Yeah. I love the scene in when Oliver Grace has gone to the orphanage and has got Annie and has brought her back to Oliver's mansion, and he's just flown in from a business trip away, and in the scene, like, two of the butlers bring in like this painting, and they they reveal that, they take the cloth off, and it's a picture of the Mona Lisa, basically, and it's very funny. He's like, no, awful, basically, take it away. And as they're taking it away, he goes, no, wait, there's something interesting in that woman's smile. I might learn to like her or live with her, live with it, hang it someplace, put it in my bathroom or something like his lines about that. And that actually makes reference to the real history of the painting. So after Leonardo da Vinci died, the ownership of the Mona Lisa was passed to King Francis I of France, who had the painting hung in his bathing room.
No way.
Yeah. Isn't that really cool?
Oh, class.
So I learned that, and I thought that's really fun, like a fun fact. I also didn't know in NYC, one of my favourite songs.
I love that song.
In that song, basically, after quite an abrasive introduction to Annie, like Oliver Warbucks, he basically wanted an orphan boy to stay with him, and he's been given this curly, ginger-haired girl, and he's a bit like, no, take her back. He eventually goes, right, well, I suppose we better do something with her, and he takes her out into NYC to show her all the sights, and he says, let's hurry up and get to the Roxy before the prices change. And I was like, well, what's the Roxy? And I didn't realise that it is a 5,920 seat movie palace, just around the corner in Times Square. It's the largest movie theatre ever built. I didn't know.
And it's mentioned in Guys and Dolls, the Roxy.
No, I know.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I knew that too, but I saved it for my Annie episode. So I didn't know that
that's
what the Roxy was. I thought it was a theatre, as in like a theatre, not a movie theatre. I didn't know the sheer size of it. So there you
massive.
Go. And then in Easy Street, Rooster, who I played, he sings about we stack the aces and roll the dice. I suppose another gangster reference. And I didn't really know what stack the aces was. I didn't realise it meant to hold all of the aces, which means to have an advantage over other players. And you're more likely to win if you've stacked the aces. So so those are my musical lyrical lingos.
Quite varied, I love it.
Yeah, very varied, it went from the mis-sung lyrics as a wee weeing to the politicalness of it all, that kind of, I like the Mona Lisa one. I thought that was kind of
nice.
cool,
nice
though.
Little nod to actual history.
Yeah, clever. Very clever.
Very good. The story about the NYC song, I actually think it was your dad lent me the album, actually a Broadway Annie.
Okay.
Just before I went to NYT.
NYT. I thought you were about to say NYC.
No.
Okay, yeah.
Just before I went to NYT, National Youth Theatre.
Yeah.
So I was away for 2 weeks. But whenever I came back, I was going on a family holiday, and that family holiday, my sister was bringing a friend, and I was bringing a friend. I was bringing Holly from school.
Okay.
And I had that girl tortured because I was singing. I'd just come back from NYT, and I had been listening to Annie's soundtrack, and or you know, Broadway cast recording, and I was just going NYT.
I love that you're singing more in these episodes.
I've got a really,
Lauren.
really bad throat as well, so please. But yeah.
There she goes with the excuses again, folks.
Constantly NYT.
It's a great song, though.
Like, that poor girl.
Yeah, I know. But sure, we've all had moments where we've, like, absolutely destroyed the happiness of our non-musical friends over the last 36 years. They're
Well,
like,
yeah.
shut up.
Yeah, that's that.
Like,
but I love that, isn't it? And I always get it wrong. Like, the girl, and she's out of the taxi, and she's like,
the buddings, or the star to be, I think is what
star
she's
to be,
called.
yes, that's
isn't
right,
it?
isn't it? And it's like, 2 bags, 3 bucks, 1 me, or something like that. And I'm like,
cheesy, but it works,
yeah,
right?
Really.
Yeah.
It's so cool. But yeah, like those songs that aren't included in the film, I think would have made the film
Better.
would have made the film better. But then, Let's Go to the Movies isn't.
I know,
And it's a great song.
I also think We Got Annie, isn't
Yes.
We Got Annie in the film, but
Yes.
it's not in the musical.
Yeah.
Like, I really like that song as well. When basically they sign,
Yeah.
she gets Annie signed over by
And they,
Miss
you know,
Hannigan in the
they're-
orphanage.
The whole maids and
I
are
love
so
it.
excited.
And I also think I just love it because it was a real, like, in-your-face dance routine around his mansion, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, Grace was having a great time, and it was played by a dancer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like that part in the movie, Anna Riesling or something.
All I remember is that she's Bob Fosse's
Yes.
girlfriend.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But she was class, and she had the legs to die for, and she just, like, swung them around the
Yeah.
place.
We got Annie.
We got Annie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So any connections to the actual musical?
Oh, I mean, like, endless. Like, it's when a company mentions one of 2 titles, like, it has the same effect of I go, and I start to shake and rock back and forward. It's like mentioning, shall we do Annie for our next production, or shall we do Oliver? And it's not that there's anything wrong with Annie or Oliver as shows. They are brilliant, and the makeup of them is perfect. And they are bums on seat shows. They will sell the tickets. And I also think a lot of companies shy away from doing, you know, shows that involve children because it brings with it its own, you know, you need to get them chaperoned, there's a cost to it. But listen, if you want a surefire hit, do a kid's show. Do you know what I mean? But I think I've done so many Annies now, it's like, again. And there's only so many times you can do a Hard Knock Life singing the wrong words. There's only so many things you can do with a mop and a bucket that's creative. A dust cloth, you know, a bed sheet. I kind of feel I've been there many times.
Yes.
And I've just run out of creative juices when it comes to, like, choreographing it. So, yeah, I've done it a lot. When we were younger, we did sections from Annie, and I played Rooster, and I loved that.
Yeah.
And actually, I'd love to play Rooster now as an adult. Like, I'd love to give it a good old go, because I had great fun when I was, 11, 12, 13. I'd love to do it now. Like, so if it ever came around, I would be well up for it, because it's also not... It's not a main character where it's going to require a lot of your time. You know, he's in and out. Do you know what I mean? So I would love to do that again, because I think the role's just class, and I do think I've got quite a good Rooster call. You know, the way he does his, like, cock-a-doodle-doo type
definitely
thing.
do.
I think I kind of nailed that, if I say so myself.
Yes,
Yeah.
very good.
But yeah, no, so yeah, I've done it, and I also did it, I've done it in school.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like a perfect school production, isn't it? Especially if you've got great girls, which I did. Oh, I loved my orphans, they were brilliant. I loved them all, it's quite funny. I was in a restaurant it was just after everything started to open up again after COVID. I think I was actually in having lunch with your sister and a few other friends.
Okay.
And the girl, I think we went to a pizza place. Sorry, we're not allowed to say the word, the places. And the waitress came up and she was just looking at me really funny. And I, you know, when you look at someone and then you kind of go, that person's vaguely familiar. And it turned out it was my Miss Hannigan.
Oh, okay.
She played Miss Hannigan when she was in school, and she's now like something ridiculous, like 21. And I'm like, okay, stop. I feel very old. But yeah, what about you? Do you have any links to it or memories of it?
Whenever we were younger, like I said, we were in it. It was never a main part, just a little orphan.
Little orphan, but not Annie.
But not Annie.
Were you a Pepper? Were you...
No, I don't even think I had
No.
a speaking. I think I just was a scrubber on that floor.
Scrubber, but I'm sure you scrubbed that floor till it shined like the top of the Chrysler building.
You know, all eyes were drawn to me.
That has to be the title, Shine Like the Top of the Chrysler building.
Perfect.
That has to be the name of this episode, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think so.
Absolutely. No, yeah, and it's certainly not a musical I say I hate. I always remember my dad having a real detest for it, and like especially the song Tomorrow. He's like, oh gosh, again.
What do you mean he doesn't sing along?
No, definitely not. And I suppose, as you've said, as you got older, you do kind of go, oh gosh, that musical.
Yeah.
You know, but it's great for kids.
Yeah.
And a great way to introduce kids to
theatre.
And
such fun for them. Like, if you're a wee girl, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, very little for wee boys.
No. And I suppose that's why Annie and Oliver sometimes go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you will maybe see...
Although you can squeeze a girl into Oliver far easier than you can squeeze a boy into.
Mm-hmm.
But as the way things are going now, who's to say the orphanage just can't have a mixture of boys and girls? Like, that's the way out of that one, isn't it, today?
I suppose if you take some of the political stuff out of it, you can set it in any... You know, we could set it post-COVID where there's, you know, problems or whatever. But, you know.
I think that's the thing with it as a show now. I think I've seen so many times that it needs to be, to go to see a production of it, it needs to be something that it's totally turned on its head. And it's completely different. Like, almost like you don't recognise that it's an Annie. Do you know what I mean? Saying that, I still am a sucker for the songs. Funny you mentioned Tomorrow. Do you know that, fun fact?
Oh,
Timmy and his fun Annie facts today. Tomorrow wasn't originally in the show. Did you know that?
No.
And it was written only as a means to fill time while a set was being changed.
Shut up.
Honestly.
No way.
Isn't that amazing?
I love things like that. It's like... see him in Wizard of Oz as well.
Yeah.
And also Meet Me in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Like the Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
That's it.
Like, wow, that's class.
Yeah. So there you go. So Tomorrow wasn't originally meant to be in the musical, and they put it in because they needed a song. And it makes sense because I think Tomorrow is done in the cabinet scene, isn't it? And they go from the cabinet scene back into Oliver Warbuck's mansion, so it's probably is a big set change. So there you go. Yeah, they're changing the mansion behind the cabinet scene. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Though I feel like it's throughout the show a lot, is it not? Is there not a reprise at the beginning? Like, does it not?
Yeah, that's
true.
How
it starts?
But I think maybe he saw how because apparently. Strauss saw them clapping along and he thought they were clapping along to the choreography or something, but it was a clap about the song, and he went, oh, this is working. Listen, that might be, I mean I've made up names and you know, song titles in this podcast. I could be completely making it up, but I did read it and I do think it was from a legit source, so yeah, and I thought, oh, that's quite interesting. Yeah. They often say in musical theatre never work with children and animals, don't they?
Children or animals.
And Annie was the first show that I did that I experienced both in the one show.
Oh, tell
all. So, oh, lordy days. So, obviously, children, it's a kid's show, so we can tick that off the list. But then there's also a dog
Yeah.
in Annie. Sandy, the dumb dog.
The dumb dog.
You know, Honey. Honey could be a Sandy replacement.
Not a Sandy.
No, I know. Well, you say that, but when I did it in school, I was adamant that we were using a dog, like a real dog. Like, I was not having a child dress up as a dog. Like, we've got to do things properly here. So I did actually have a real dog in my school production of Annie.
What?
Yes, I did.
Were you just like really enthusiastic or something?
Really enthusiastic and just really daft.
Yeah.
Like, what was I thinking? So yeah, we had a gorgeous little dog called Peanuts. Now, the dog that I wanted and I had worked with before, which I will come on to in a minute, originally I had that dog in my head.
Right, okay.
Which looked like Sandy and was the perfect Sandy, like the most gorgeous dog. Unfortunately, plans fell through and I couldn't get Sandy. I think she was actually going to do Crufts or something. Like, genuinely, I think it was something like that. But the person who owned my Sandy that I wanted gave me an alternative that wasn't a Sandy.
Okay.
It was like I can't even remember what breed of dog, but imagine a sausage dog, so like long body, long floppy ears, really short legs and feet.
Okay.
And I think it probably is like a sausage dog,
Or a
but bigger,
beagle,
or like no St. Bernards are those big ones, aren't they?
Like a beetle.
Maybe, maybe called Peanuts. What a cute name, right? So obviously, working with primary school kids, I didn't want to have the dog about too much.
Yeah.
Because that would have just been like playground antics every day. And also, I didn't know if it was going to work.
Yeah,
Like this
okay.
unknown dog,
Yeah.
you know, working with like primary school kids. So I think we only had 1 or 2 rehearsals with Peanuts as Sandy, the dog. And obviously you've got that scene where the dog has to go to Annie when she shouts its name.
Yeah.
And I had a brilliant Annie. She was absolutely gorgeous. I still remember like seeing her coming in with her like wee hair and like the wee
cute.
rags to make them curly. And she was amazing and she was brilliant with that dog. But I'll just always remember like singing that song and keeping control of that dog is a feat, isn't it?
Yeah.
And my wee Annie in school did it so brilliantly. But I do remember the way our staging was, like typical school staging, you know, you have to put it up and take it down. So there was like a different levels because we didn't have enough of the one level.
Right.
So we had to go like a top tier, then a medium tier, which meant the dog had to step up from the middle tier onto the top tier, and because it was like a wee sausagey dog beetle, is that what you said? So. Its wee legs just weren't great, so like my Annie almost had to drag it up onto the next level. So I remember that. And then the second time I was doing it as a youth project, a summer youth project, and my best friend was choreographing it and I was assistant choreographer. And my best friend just so happens to live in Sweden. So she wasn't about to suss the dog out and to choreograph the dog and see what the dog could do. That was going to appear, it was in the opera house, so it was going to be a big stage. So they sent me instead to a little hall in Bangor with the 2 Annies, the 2 wee girls that were playing Annie, one of which who was scared of dogs.
No way.
To try and work out how we could get the dog to do the bits that the dog needed to do. I literally have choreographed animals, children, adults, everybody. Like my CV is so full, I couldn't fit any more on my CV. Yeah, I have choreographed a dog.
And how long did that take you?
Oh, it was a good 3 hours. Like, and I remember it had like a red toy that we were stuffing ham and chicken into the red toy, and we were trying to work out if the red toy would look like an apple, so that, you know, Annie could have an apple in her hand, and the dog would go to Annie to get the food.
Oh my goodness!
Honestly, it was hilarious. I just remember driving home going, but you know what? Tim, you've made it. That's it. Like, you can't do any more than what you've now done. You have choreographed animals as well as adults and children.
That is a hilarious story.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't hilarious on the day when you're trying to work out how you get a dog to go to a child it doesn't know when it calls its name, which isn't actually its name. It was,
that's the thing
that's
too.
It.
You've got that older.
Yeah, my name's not Sandy. Why are you calling Sandy?
But you've got some nice food in your hand, so I'll come over anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so Annie is the show that introduced me to choreographing animals.
So Annie is the one that filled your CV and just...
Yeah, well, yeah, certainly
top it?
ticked off that box on my CV. Choreographed animals? Sure have. Yeah, so there you go. And what other show would you need to, like, choreograph an animal?
Well, Dr. Dolittle.
I will never be doing Dr. Dolittle, let me tell you. Although it's a great show. It has some brilliant musical numbers in Dr. Dolittle. With Philip Schofield.
That's right.
Yeah. He played Dr. Dolittle. That same youth project, actually, that I choreographed a dog, I have a funny memory of too, in the cabinet scene. Mm-hmm. I love when kids get really invested in what they're doing. I think it's why I really enjoy working with kids.
Yeah.
Like, give me a kids show over an adult show any day of the week. It's something that the enthusiasm, and their bright eyes, and the magic that they bring, and they just get so invested in everything they do. So it was the cabinet scene where basically Roosevelt is giving off about the state of America, and he's got his different cabinet. And it's always a brave moment when you ask a child, or children, a group of children in this case, to ad-lib.
Okay.
And to give a bit of hubble-bubble, I would sometimes call it, a wee bit of rambling.
Yeah.
It's not that anyone's got a specific line, but you need to be, as your character, talk in the moment. So they're in this cabinet scene in the Opera House, big stage, full house, and chat, rumbling, giving off about everything, awful state, and one of the children got so enthused in his character and how terrible things were that above everybody else's rambling, all we heard was, through his mic, "F you, Roosevelt!"
Shut up!
And as a production team, we all went...
Oh my goodness!
But, he was just in the moment. He was just in character and was saying how he felt. And you can't knock the kid for it, F you, Roosevelt!
I take it this wasn't on the actual night.
I can't remember if it was an actual night or if it was we would always do dress rehearsal where we would invite some people in. I can't remember.
But there was some sort of audience?
There was more people than us, I think, there to see it. Yeah, from what I can remember. My memory's so shocking, but yeah, it certainly made us sit up straight and go, oh, we'll have to talk to him about that. Note. He was definitely in the notes that day, yeah. Anyone who sees me in the theatre will not see me in a theatre without a notebook in my hand normally, yeah. Full of notes, but yeah. So those are my my Annie memories.
Well, they are some fab memories.
I know.
I'm going to say probably you're not going to meet somebody else that's going to have those memories in connection with Annie.
I also had a lyrical or a line slip.
Oh.
Because, and so I was asked in to a company to do Bert Haley. It was one scene, one number. He opens Act 2, I think, because they're at the radio station, aren't they? Where they go to kind of say, "Are you Annie's parents? Yeah. If so, there's a cash prize." And
it's where Never Fully Dressed.
That's right, Never Fully Dressed happens, and he sings Never Fully Dressed with the lovely Boylan sisters. And the line was... And I hadn't performed for a while because I got to the point, I think we've talked about it, just as I got older, it just became a bigger deal performing. I think you lose a bit of confidence as you get older. And I was so stressed and overthinking what I had to do in previous shows that I went, you know what, it's not enjoyable when it gets to that stage. Yeah. So I was like, I need to take a break from performing for a while. And then I was asked to come into this company I'd never worked with before just to do Bert Haley, because they didn't have a Bert Haley. And I thought, do you know what? What's the worst that could happen? It's one scene, one song, job's done. Like, very, very little rehearsal to be done. So that sets it up. So I was a wee bit, I hadn't performed for a long time in front of an audience. So there was more nerves than I thought there would have been. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I just got tongue-tied and I just got nervous and I was overthinking it. And the line is supposed to be, Bert Haley's supposed to say, I can see by the clock on the wall that, you know, basically the radio station or the programme is over for the day, you know. And I said, I can see from the clock on the wall. And that was in front of an audience. And you know when you say it out loud and you hear yourself saying it and then you go, oh, fudge.
Yeah.
I've actually just said that in front of a full house. Like,
but maybe they just thought that you said clock.
I hope they thought I said clock
Yeah.
in my American accent.
Yeah.
I really hope my diction was so awful that night
that
they thought it was clock.
Yeah. They wouldn't have thought that you would have said
But I
anything
didn't
else.
say clock,
Oh,
Lauren. Yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah, I know. That kind of follows on from what we were talking last week as well, about like
Funny.
some of the other stories that we've got in that we'll have to save for our post-watershed.
Comes with a warning.
Yeah, it comes with a warning of lyrics that were sung that shouldn't have been sung and weren't the lyrics that were written. But yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's Annie. That's probably one of the reasons why I try and dodge Annie as much as I can.
Oh no, and like if you're listening to this and you've never listened to the music, go give it a go, or choose one of the many films. Like there was a very recent film made. It was okay. I think kids liked it more than
Is that the one
adults.
where it's a bit more rappy and a wee bit more hip hoppy? Yeah. I mean, why not? I think with things like Annie, that's what you need to do now to just kind of freshen it up for the old people like me who have heard it.
Yeah. There's been a
so
couple
many
of
times.
Do you remember like Disney used to do like TV films? You know, so
yes.
So there's a version of Annie, and it's not a bad one.
Is that the most recent one? There's like I have to be careful what we say here. There's like an American network that every year they do a live musical.
No,
where
it's
like
not.
it's filmed live,
Yeah.
like, and I'm like going, you're insane.
Yeah.
Why would you ever like do a musical live, like pre-record it? And Nicole Scherzinger was in it as Grace Farrell, and I actually kind of gave me a bit of a buzz again for Annie, because it was a really good version, and I was like, oh no, do you know what? I really enjoyed that actually. And I don't expect to enjoy an Annie now.
I think that's it.
Is the problem.
That's how I feel with said musical that we've discussed before. It's just...
She's bringing episode 2 up again.
You're
pushing it.
There's just
and
no
you
real
didn't
enjoyment.
supply me with Ovaltine this week.
I mean, I'm so sorry.
That's it. I quit. The sun'll come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar I'll be back next week. It's too much fun. What can I say?
I know. But yeah, there's loads of versions that if you maybe, haven't seen a live production of it, or maybe the 1982 film is just about for you, go and find, like, there's loads of different versions that you maybe find an Annie that suits you.
Yeah.
You find your little orphan.
Yeah, that's it. And you know what? As for kids, I think it's an important one. Like any kid that's interested in musicals should do an Annie at some point.
Yeah.
Because it's a really good one to do. It teaches them good things because they have a lot to do in it. Funny, that 1982 film. Even though it was like the 10th biggest grossing movie of that year, right? Do you know that it still didn't make a profit because of its exorbitant production costs? Isn't that insane?
No way. Well, like, was it shot on location? Like, is it actually
Yeah,
in New
well,
York?
I think so, yeah.
Rather
It
than-
cost so much to make the movie that even though it did really well at the box office, it didn't make a profit. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, that is. Gosh.
I know. I was really shocked by that. I was also shocked by the big names, like big actors whose names were linked and could have been playing the roles but didn't end up playing the roles. Do you know
Like who?
So do you know who had signed up to play Oliver Warbucks, but then when a producer stepped away, he stepped away? He'd actually signed up to do it.
No.
Jack Nicholson had signed up to play Daddy Warbucks.
No way.
Yes.
Oh, that would be very
Yeah,
different.
I know. Steve Martin was interested in playing Rooster,
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
and he didn't end up doing it. Do you know Kristen Chenoweth was turned down for Annie?
No way.
Sad, isn't it? Because of her southern accent or something. Her accent was too southern. And the one that I'm devastated about, because I think she'd have been amazing, although I think she's maybe played it at some point now. Bette Midler was in talks to do Miss Hannigan. She'd have been brilliant, wouldn't she?
But then
Although, yeah, Carol
Burnett.
yeah, she was stunning.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, I loved her. As
And I
Hannigan.
think whenever you do, you see that, even though like a couple of other people have played Miss Hannigan.
My friend Laura plays a brilliant Hannigan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's
Love
fab.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it that there's some roles that just suit people.
Yeah.
You know, and that's their role.
No offence, but I think you play a brilliant Hannigan.
I thought you would say that.
She's like giving me daggers.
No, I probably could do that. Okay, like I feel
I just think
that
you'd
role
make it
doesn't
really
scare me.
funny. Like, I think you'd do it really well.
Yeah,
Play a really good drunk.
yeah. I'm practicing every night of the week.
I come in tonight and there's a craft of red wine. I'm like, ooh, nice. It's still full. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Do you have any standing ovations?
My stand ovation is you.
What?
As in Rooster.
Stop it.
Yeah. I like that is definitely one of the roles that I always remember. And I think if there was some way that we could do like a double act, I would love.
Okay.
So I think that's why whenever you said
Double
Miss
act
Hannigan.
as Hannigan and Rister?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think whenever you said you'd make a good Miss Hannigan, in my head I'm like, yeah, because I would love to play along
Easy
you
Street
as
with
Rister.
That's really kind of you to say.
But also that role, as you've mentioned, it's like you're in, you're out, but it's a great role.
Yeah, he doesn't do very much, but he makes the best of what he has to do, doesn't he? Yeah.
But that song's great.
It's fab.
And if you have the right people,
The right trio, it's a show stealer.
Yeah.
Actually, I think if you do it right with the right three people, it could
and
be really
I've seen
good.
it played a couple of different ways. You know where, what do you call Rooster's girlfriend?
Lily St. Regis,
So-
named after the hotel. Room service.
Okay.
Love
So-
it. Our floor room. Yeah.
That Miss Hannigan and Lily do not get on, and you
Yeah.
know that she's really like you know
Yeah.
pushed away. And then I've seen other maybe smaller productions where that they do get on,
Yeah.
but I like that really. You know, like closing the door in her face and that
Yeah.
type of thing. I just think that works more for
Yeah.
for the Miss Hannigan to kind of be put up in a pedestal a little bit. So.
Definitely, yeah. Oh no, it's a perfect trio. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, that's fine.
Oh, that's nice. My ones are Carol Burnett's Miss Hannigan.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was amazing. And I've also mentioned, like, I just love some of the songs that were in the film that don't make it into the musical. Like, I love the We Got Annie.
Yeah.
I do like the I think I'm gonna like it here that Annie does sing in the musical when she arrives. Yeah, I would sack off tomorrow. I'd get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that's ridiculous. It's the anthem of the show, isn't it?
But then I suppose now you kind of know the history. It was just there to fill a gap. Is it really neat? Like there's other songs.
Well, I suppose it just gives the whole thing about Annie is optimism, isn't it? They mention it several times. You know, about there's something I haven't heard of since, 1982, optimism. I think it just gives a bit of hope and a bit of optimism, doesn't it, to it? And it's an anthem, like we all love an anthem.
Yeah, but I think if you're going to write a song like that, it should be a wee bit more upbeat.
Yeah, but it is a belter for a wee girl, like when she opens her mouth and lets her lungs
tomorrow
let all that air out.
I don't know.
However, if she's flat, not so impressive.
No.
If she's got bad diction, even worse.
It's
It's quite funny. One of the was it the recent Broadway revival? They had them like speaking in really broad Bronx accents.
Oh, really?
And it was really weird when you're not used to it. I think they did a cast recording of that revival. You should listen to it, but they're dead Bronxy, and I'm like, whoa, okay, it's weird to hear like Annie talking in a real Bronx accent. Yeah.
Interesting.
There we go.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, when we look back at how this episode started,
I know.
We've been a little bit more kind, haven't we?
Yeah,
than I thought. I thought after the first 3 minutes, I was like, we're just going to complain from start to finish. We were a wee bit more upbeat, weren't we?
Oh yes, I think that's it. I think it's that initial whenever you hear it, and especially if you've been involved in it, like you have, creatively a lot. There's only so far you can take it. So whenever you hear it, you have that initial drive, but whenever you unpack it...
Yeah, and I mean, it's quintessentially a very good show. I think it's just we're over familiar with certain shows, aren't we?
And I think that the one that's on tour at the minute, that sadly had lovely Paul O'Grady.
I know.
It's meant to be fab.
Listen, like, that's the thing. Like, I don't think, like, things like turn productions of it, I don't think you're going to go and be like, well...
Yeah.
I think you'll enjoy it enough. Do you know what I mean?
And take it for what it is.
I think I'm just not one of we were talking like last episode about those shows that have a real fan base. I don't think I would rush back to an Annie every time it came, like Blood Brothers.
Yeah.
Anytime Blood Brothers comes, I would 100% be getting the ticket to go and see it. I wouldn't do that for Annie. Like, I don't know if I'll go and see the tour of it, to be honest with you.
No, and I think that's fair.
Certainly won't stand outside the theatre and, with a placard going down with Annie. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just...
And you'll not discourage people from seeing it.
Oh, no. I encourage kids who are showing an interest to go and see it or to get involved in it if it comes up. But I think I'm done with my days with Annie.
Well... At least there's loads of stories.
Never say never, as I said. If a rooster ever came up, I'd certainly do it for the laughs. Yeah. But there you go.
There you go, lots of stories.
On to next week. Yeah. What are we doing? Have you got a clue?
Give a clue. I will give a clue. The heat is on.
Next week? The heat is on.
The heat is on next week.
You're just talking about this weather we're having this week. It's lovely, isn't it?
Let's hope.
Hot. Yeah.
Yeah, so keep your guesses coming in. We do love them. And again, thank you so much for joining us this week.
And tell your friends in Africa.
Yes.
Thank you.
We will see you next week. Bye.